What's up, guys? I'm Chris Spags here, back with another Four Corners video for today's 13-game MLB main slate, courtesy of Osmo.com. Now, it was a long weekend, one in which I hope you and yours had a lovely time, had some quality relaxation, some time to think about the people that we should be celebrating over the weekend, but also I could use support getting back in the swing of things. So right now, like this video, leave a comment down below giving me your guess as to which two teammates today are going to hit home run. We've got 13 games, a lot of decent run totals. Somebody here is going to do it. So like this video and comment your two teammates who hit a home run today down below. The first corner I'm going to hit on are the top pitchers on today's slate, and Rich Hill going against the Mets is going to be the number one owned option overall industry-wide. Gets 3.2 implied runs going against him, which is the lowest on today's slate. He's expected to be the top owned guy with 26% on DK, 23% on FanDuel, and he'll be number two owned with 37% on Yahoo. Hill's been strong on Ks with 10.3 Ks per 9 this year, but his 9.3% swing strike rate and a 5.5% home run rate make it tough to fully trust him, even with the Mets striking out at a 26.8% K rate versus left-hand pitching. I think there are some guys in the Mets line who I'll talk about later in the video who can do some real damage to Hill. I think it's a spot here. If you want to trust Hill, I get it. I think I'm probably going to get close to matching the field on, but maybe a little bit under, because I think Hill is a guy who seems due to get blown up today. And if he is going to be a highly owned pitcher, the top owned pitcher on most of the sites, I think it's a situation here where you maybe can get some leverage going against him. Trevor Richards versus San Francisco should also find some ownership today with 3.6 implied runs going against him. He's going to be the number one owned guy on Yahoo today at 38%. He's not far behind Hill on DraftKings either. Again, more of an SP2 site guy. The price is decent for Richards as an SP2, which is why he's getting that ownership there. He's got a 12.8% swing strike rate and a decent 8.3 Ks per 9. He's going up against a San Francisco team who's got a 24.3% K rate and not much dangerous power versus right-hand pitching besides Brandon Belt, who has a 213 ISO. Belt's the only guy with over a 170 ISO in the projected San Francisco lineup, so it's a spot here where I don't think you'll see a lot of dangerous power going against Richards. I think you also get some decent strikeout stuff going against him, so I don't mind going to Richards today, but he's really more of an SP2 site play for sure. And Dylan Bundy going against Detroit should also find some ownership today, even though he's got a pretty high 4.5 implied run total against him. Bundy's got 9 Ks per 9 and a 12.6% swing strike rate, which could be viable versus a Detroit team, with a 26.2% K rate versus right-hand pitching. Bundy will have significant ownership, and while he can get decent results here, there is some real risk with him having a still very high 5.4% home run rate, and Camden Yards is a top 2 hitting park, so it's possible Baltimore's bullpen gives up the production here. They've been really bad on the year, and Bundy has a decent day. I think Bundy's in play for me very strongly, but I also think some Detroit stacks are very much in play as well, because Bundy can get blown up, or that bullpen can get blown up and yield a big day to the Detroit bats. On to our next corner, the top stacks on today's slate, and a Colorado stack going against Merrill Kelly is going to be a popular one today. They get 6.6 implied runs in their favor, which is a slate high, and Kelly's 40.8% hard contact and 10.2 hits per 9 allowed can be big production for Colorado. The game is currently a weather risk with rain in Colorado, but the solid hitting Trevor Story and Nolan Arenado could be must-haves if the game does go. And also guys like David Dahl and Ramel Tapia are at really good prices given the team total here. This could be a very important game to have if the weather is okay enough to go, so follow her at Osmo Weather Twitter handle. Keep your eyes peeled on all the radar out there, because if this game is going, you're going to want to have it. Same thing for this one, an Arizona stack going against Antonio Senzatella. They get 5.4 implied runs in their favor, and Senzatella does not miss bats at all with a 6.2% swing strike rate and just 5.8 Ks per 9. Arizona has been great versus right-hand pitching with only a 241 batting average and 91 WRC+, but a mini stack of Eduardo Escobar, Adam Jones, and Christian Walker are among a couple configurations that I think could produce versus Senzatella. Senzatella is not a guy I'm impressed by. Arizona's not terribly impressive either, but they do have some guys who can do damage. Again, watch the weather closely here, because I think this one could be important for either one-offs or mini stacks if the game does go off. And a Boston stack versus Zach Plesac is also interesting with 5.3 implied runs in their favor. Boston has big power with a projected lineup that has a 210 ISO and a 4.2% home run rate versus right-hand pitching. Plesac has been decent in the minors with 56 Ks and 57.1 innings pitched this year, and he may be worth some exposure given his cheap price, but any first start jitters here could be capitalized on a big way with a really powerful Boston lineup here. It's a spot where I'm going to have some Boston. They're going to be tough to pay for, but that price should drive down their ownership a bit, and if Plesac does get blown up, Boston could have a really big day. On to our next corner, the lower owned options on today's slate, and Matthew Boyd going against Baltimore's a guy who intrigues me. Gets 4.5 implied runs against him. He's a risk-reward play with some solid projections and a matchup versus a Baltimore team which strikes out at a 26.1% K rate versus left-hand pitching. Boyd's 42% fly ball rate can be a problem in Baltimore's home run happy park, but his 10.8 Ks per 9 and his 13.1% swing strike rate can be worth the potential damage. I think Boyd's a guy, look, if you give up a couple home runs, it wouldn't shock me, but I think he can get you enough strikeouts here where he might be worth that risk. I'll have some Boyd today in the hopes that he does have that big outlier day, because all the other strikeout pitchers who are strong also come with significant risk as well. A Philly stack versus Adam Wainwright also intrigues me with 5.4 implied runs in their favor. Wainwright's been bad versus lefties with a 5.6 xFIP and 10.7 hits per 9 allowed, but he's also bad overall with only a 6.5% swing strike rate and 43% hard contact allowed. I think Bryce Harper's a nice but decently owned value play who works as a one-off, but a three-man stack of Harper, Rhys Hoskins, and JT Realmuto can be interesting with all three of those guys over a 127 WRC+ versus right-hand pitching. I think the Philly stack is interesting as mini stacks as full stacks. I think Bryce Harper is going to be very highly owned today, and I'll talk more about him later, but he's a guy I like a lot, and I think the stack also can be valuable today versus a guy in Wainwright who just doesn't seem to have it anymore. A Houston stack going against John Lester also interests me with 5.1 implied runs in their favor. The stack's at a really reasonable price by Houston standards, and they're going against Lester, who's been decent with 9 Ks per 9, but he allows 43.4% hard contact and an 8.2% swing strike rate that show that he can be hit. There's some ownership expected for Houston, largely towards the minimum price Jack Mayfield and a very cheap Robinson Trinos, but the whole lineup here looks viable, with Michael Brantley the only hitter under a 108 WRC plus versus left-hand pitching in this lineup. It's rare to be able to get Houston at reasonable prices, so that's the main reason you would go here. If they get very highly owned, it might be worth going away because, again, it's not a perfect spot here versus Lester, a guy who does limit damage fairly well, but Lester's shown enough where I think he can give up some production, so as long as this lineup doesn't get too chalky, I do like Houston quite a bit. Given some of the high-priced bats you're probably going to want exposure to, I think you may want to dumpster dive a little bit for SP2s, and Marco Gonzalez going against Texas is one of those dumpster dive pitchers who I don't mind. He gets 4.2 implied runs against him, and Texas has been brutal versus left-hand pitching with a 28.8% K rate, a 217 batting average, and an 80 WRC plus. Gonzalez is far from a strikeout guy with just 6.3 Ks per 9 and an 8.4% swing strike rate on the year, but he's in a reasonable price and a positive pitcher's park. That means he can be useful for some exposure here. If he were chalky as well, I think I'd be less inclined to go to him, but if he's going to be low owned like he currently projects to be, I think Marco Gonzalez could be a guy who's interesting as an SP2. And now onto our last corner, the one-offs, and Bryce Harper going against Adam Wainwright is one of the one-offs I like the most. His price is solid, as I mentioned. He's got a 4.8% home run rate versus Wainwright. He gives up a 1.8 whip and a 3.5% home run rate allowed to lefties. Phillies Park, also a positive hitting park, maybe under the radar as being a positive hitting park. So I think a spot here, again, I like Harper as a one-off. I also think some mini stacks and even full stacks can be worthwhile. Jack Mayfield versus John Lester is a one-off worth considering, largely because of his minimum price on DraftKings and FanDuel. With guys likely to be on base in front of him, that's a good spot of a minimum priced guy. Mayfield does have a limited MLB sample size as a 28-year-old career minor leaguer, but the spot here works. Again, Houston's a team who just gets production. Mayfield at the minimum price, he's likely to have some guys in front of him. If he bats 1 or 2 in, that's probably all you need out of him, given the fact that he is so cheap and can open up a lot of things with your lineup. And Pete Alonso versus Rich Hill's a one-off I'm also interested in today. Hill can win the battle, given that Alonso's got a 37.5% K rate versus left-hand pitching, but Alonso also comes with a sky-high 420 ISO and a 9% home run rate, and I think one of him or Wilson Ramos should be able to get to Hill's 45% hard contact allowed to righties. Hill's a guy I'm not super impressed by, and if he's going to be highly owned, I might want to get some leverage on him in the lineups in which I don't have Hill. I think both Ramos and Alonso in particular are guys I would like a lot to get some of that leverage. I think they have some pop. I think they have some potential here. Going against a guy in Hill who's given up a lot of power even when he is striking guys out. So there are my thoughts on today's slate. So please like this video right now and leave a comment down below about which 2 teammates you think are going to hit a home run today. I just talked about Pete Alonso and Wilson Ramos. 2 guys are going to be very interesting leverage against Rich Hill if they hit a home run, but you have a lot of choices out there. So tell me which ones you think are the most appealing right now. Like this video and comment your 2 teammates who are going to hit a home run today down below. And use that promo code Switch and Hedge for half off your first month of any Osmo.com package. All the ownership projections, the rankings, the deep dive column every day, Osmo's top stack percentages, a lot of things are going to make you build better lineups. Of course, you could also get an all sport package. WNBA is kicking off, PGA's full steam, NASCAR is going on, NHL, NBA playoffs. We still have all those things going right now. So use that promo code Switch and Hedge for half off your first month. I'll be back later today for the MLB Live Before Lock show. So tune in 6 p.m. Eastern, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when we go live. And of course, I will be back tomorrow with another 4 Corners video. So good luck.